Start recording. Okay. First of all, hello everyone. Let me first confirm that our session is recorded and will be streamed in social media. So if anyone didn't like to get recorded or being on social media, so I will kindly ask you to leave now. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our session today. And we have a very special guest today, Michael Blumenthal. It's great to have you, Michael, here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
That's a great. Okay, let's start. I think we will start by give you and all our audience our agenda today. So first, we will get a high-level overview about our community. This is will just give you who we are, what we are doing, and so on. And after that, we will get a high-level overview about our members, our Git repos, and then the benefits of our community and how we are organized, what is the beneficial of being a member of our community, and then our guest speaker calendar, and then the interview, and the QA from our audience is yours.
Yeah. Hi, Mike, and how are you doing?
Hi, doing well, thank you.
Yes, my pleasure to be part of this fruitful discussion. So let me introduce myself quickly before we start the interview. So this is Mahmoud Shaheen. I'm 15 years of experience in IT industry. This includes and not limited to software development, system analysis, solution design, delivery, integration, and management as well. I worked in different countries, including Singapore, Japan, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and more. Right now, I'm more specialized in solution architecture. So my current role is principal solution architect with Accenture. And my goal in life is to replace legacy systems with distributed systems. So we replace old systems in digital transformation. I guess that's enough about me because we need to utilize the time of this session with you. So thanks for joining us. And I guess we can start. And the best thing to start with the overview part. So we will be glad if you can give a quick overview about yourself, your hobbies, your career path, and so on. Thank you so much.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Michael Blumenthal. I am currently in a role where my title is Microsoft Product Manager, and I work at a social science research institute called NORC, N-O-R-C, NORC at the University of Chicago. My responsibilities there include broad oversight of our M365 environment in terms of service ownership and user adoption. I'm also responsible for our Microsoft relationship, including our enterprise agreement and our support agreement. And I've been doing that for not quite a year and a half. But to give you a bigger picture of my career, could I share a whiteboard?
Sure.
Sometimes I like to draw. Let's see, where did whiteboard go? And I am not seeing whiteboard. Okay, let me start a whiteboard and share my screen then. Let's do, give me a moment here. There's a, here. Let's see. I find that illustrating things, there we go. Let's just do a blank canvas. I find that illustrating things can be a highly effective way to communicate. So I'm going to put a dot here and say this is 1995. And that is the beginning of my professional career. And so I tend to think of it as a line this way. And in 1995, I got my first job as an IT consultant. So from then to about 2017, and I've been in IT consulting, so that's 22 years in IT consulting. Now, in that time, as an IT consultant, there's a key point in 2003, which is when I started working with SharePoint. And SharePoint really had a dramatic impact on on my professional life. And so let me just call this 2003. And that was SB, SharePoint. And from there to really through, let's say, about 2014, I can the 14. 2014 was all about SharePoint. I grew up professionally as first as a SharePoint developer, and then as a SharePoint architect. And SharePoint architect encompassed both administration and development. And then around 2014, I noticed that the problems the customers were asking for me to help with wasn't how do I build this on SharePoint, or can you build us something on SharePoint? It was, I just bought Office 365. What all do I have? How do I use it? How do I get people to use it? And so over the course of from 2014 to 2017, I entered a larger world of not just working with SharePoint, not just focusing on SharePoint, but really expanding to the entire suite of collaboration tools and collaboration experiences in what became M365. And in 2017, that's when I made a switch, a switch from consulting to being in internal IT. And so from 2017 to today, I am now in roles in, I've been in roles in internal IT, and the big shift there wasn't just leaving consulting for internal IT, but really a focusing on user adoption and service management for M365. So that's how I got to where I am today. And that's well, I'm already starting to think ahead to the other questions you're going to ask me, so I'll leave it there. So that is my career in a nutshell.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so thank you for sharing the history of your career. It's really interesting and inspiring. So for now, we're gonna go to some or couple of questions, and let's start with one of the questions that are that's frequently asked, which is related to the priority. Right now, assuming that I'm like you can say a fresh grad, and I joined a new company, even I'm an intermediate employee. So I joined a new company and I received a lot of tasks, and then the workload became higher and higher and higher. So how can we manage the huge workload, and how can we manage the priority of such a scenario? Thank you.
So as a new employee, one of the most important things is to establish a relationship with your manager and have a discussion with your manager about what the priorities are, how success is measured. At the end of the first month, the first 6 months, the first year, how will you know you've been successful in the role? How will he know that he or she has made a great decision in hiring you? I say he because my manager is male at the moment in my current position. And make sure you continue talking to your manager. I have meeting with my manager every single week where we go over what I'm working on, and anything that we need to adjust to make sure that priorities are being taken care of. And what like as a new employee, and this is relatively fresh to me because I've been with the company about 16 months, and this is about the 10th company I've worked for over my career. So I've been a new employee many times. yeah, over the first several months, the workload ramps up and up and up, and eventually your plate is so full, there's more stuff than you can do. And it's a matter of making sure the important stuff gets done and making sure that the other stuff either gets tabled. I mean, if there's stuff that is truly unimportant, don't do it. But then make sure that if it's something that like your manager understands that you're not doing it because it doesn't have enough business value, or that there aren't resources available, or you don't have the resources and time available to do it. So a lot of it's about communication, and that communication is both about establishing priorities and also communicating when there are things that are can't be prioritized for work, and so they won't get work done. The other options for that, of course, are you can delegate that to someone else. So, for example, I recently had a conversation with my manager about a a task that I had been doing, which I thought had some value to the business, but I realized that it wasn't getting done in a timely fashion. And so went and had the conversation with my boss. Hey, this is somewhat important, but it's not as important as these other things. Is there another person that could delegate this to? And sure enough, there was. And so I was able to remove it from my workload, give it to someone else, and then way it's getting done. But it isn't up to me to do it. And so that was the right solution for that problem. So trying to recap here, managing workload is a lot about prioritizing, and some of that is got to be a discussion with your manager.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's amazing. So here we need to be connected and to establish continuous communication with our management. And you can say this will help us to manage the priority well, right?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. So
Sure.
moving to the next part, which is related to the common or most frequent mistakes that you have seen during your career. You can say the most repeated ones or the common ones that you would like to share with us. So what are they from your perspective? Thank you.
Well, so the first thing that comes to mind is a technical mistake, or two or three. Thinking about the ones I've seen over my career, SharePoint is not a database. The SharePoint is great for file storage, for pages, for lists, but don't build a relational data system on it. Use an actual database for it. So that's a technical mistake. I mean, in terms of soft skills and things, I would say know the tools that you work with, especially the tools you work with every day. Early in my career, as a developer, I saw someone doing their own date logic, and the resulting web part mishandled a leap year because they hadn't written the code correctly. But more importantly, they hadn't written the code correctly because they were trying to do the date logic themselves, writing the code for it, rather than using the methods that were available to handle that. And so it was a lack of education, again, not knowing that the tool could do that, and so having to a person essentially wrote their own when they shouldn't have. More more recently, I've been helping my colleagues learn more about the tools we use every day, and that's part of what I do in user adoption, so that people can be more productive with Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook. Everybody deals with email. If you're in the Microsoft world, you're using Outlook. Get to know the full capabilities of Outlook, um, and get to know that really well, because it'll save you time. And I mean, everybody deals with email, so make that as painless a process as you can.
Yeah, understood. Thank you. So moving to the next part, and it's related to the first step in the career itself.
Mm-hmm.
So from your experience, how is the first step important and reflected into the rest of the career?
So it is both critically important and also very not important. I see it both ways. On one hand, each step tends to determine what options you consider for your next step. So each job I've had has been something that I've leveraged for the next job that I found. So each one has it's sort of been one on top of another building blocks in a way, but at the same time, each time there was a little bit of a pivot in many cases. In some cases, it was I went from SharePoint developer to SharePoint developer just at another consulting firm, but other times, like when I left consulting, that felt like a major pivot, even though it was still very much M365 I was working with. And then once I made that transition, like the next transition was based on what I just on the role I just had, and the one before that was based on the role I just had. So the first job you take tends to influence the next job you'll take, but it's also not necessarily like if I look back now, what I did in my first job has very little direct impact on what I do today. So my first job out of college, I was consulting, developer. At one point, I was building both the website and the server network, and essentially an event. We were building a system which included banks of computers for attendees to use at conferences back in the 90s before people had their mobile phone, smartphones. And if I look at what I'm doing today, where I'm focused on user adoption and cloud service management, the two have nothing to do with each other. But at the same time, I didn't get where I am today without having started where I was. And so that was one step in the puzzle. So it's important because of some of the things that I learned from there. And it got me deep into Microsoft technology, and I built on that and so forth. On the other hand, it's got nothing at all to do with what I do today. So it's both sides.
Yeah, understood. But here I have a sub point related to the same topic. So some people claim that, oh no, I have lack of experience, I have less connections, I don't have mentorship, so I started wrongly. So I went to the wrong way. So I want to fix. But sometimes they say it's too late and it's hard to change. So what's your message for those who claim this?
So there's two things there. One is the challenge of continuous learning. I mean, almost everything we do is in IT is learnable, and like if I wanted to go and completely, if I had a reason to, and I wanted to leave what I'm doing now, which is use service management and user adoption, and go write Java code somewhere, which is a technology I basically never worked in, but I still have that software development background. I mean, I could go and do things and teach myself Java and do that. The so I mean, if you think that it's a good personal business decision to retrain on a new on a different technology area, generally, I think there's lots of resources out there where you can find a path to do that. The other thing about when you're looking for a new job is don't let a list of requirements scare you. For one, the job description is, I was going to say written by a human, but these days it could be equally written by an AI. So what you're looking at is someone's best guess of what they want in the role. And this may or may not actually be written by the person who's the hiring manager. Don't think you have to meet it 100%. And in fact, even if you only meet it like 50% or maybe only 10%, if you can show and tell a story about aptitude and willingness to learn and work hard and skill up, sometimes that can be more impressive, more impactful, and more valuable than someone who actually has all the skills. So if the job itself sounds interesting to you, if the skills are things you want to learn, don't let the lack of those skills scare you off from applying for the job.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Okay, so here we have some people and a lot of people in the world that want to be in the top. I want to be, for example, one of the top developers worldwide. I want to be one of the top leaders and so on. So here comes the question, how to unlock the full potential and maximize our productivity in any work environment. What are your recommendations for this?
So there's a couple different answers to that. There's some metric out there about if you've done 10,000 hours, which is like 5 years in any particular area, you're an expert. But I think the rule for that is the data for that is a little bit little bit questionable, where like that isn't a magic number. Most
Yes.
importantly, once you feel like you know something and you've learned something from your personal experience that someone else might not know, you're an expert in that area, in that little tiny part of that area, and that's expert enough to share what you know. So don't think you need to pass every certification exam on it, or some other measure of expertise. If you have developed some life experience, could be a couple weeks of building something, a couple months of on a project. If you've done something where you feel, oh, I learned a lot there. This was a really difficult problem. Here's how we solved it. I bet other people are facing something similar. What I know could be useful to other people. Share it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. This is always all the time what I told people is, again, if you spend some time to solve a problem, I think you can save this time for other one. And again, don't think that will be repeated. Even sometimes when you collect the problem from here and here and you connect them, it's become like two problems to solve a bigger problem. This is also a solution, because other one would like to go for this part and this part, but you collect them in one part. So it's become a new solution. Okay.
I'm going to offer one other variation on that answer, which is to the question of when can you define yourself an expert? As soon as you come into this community and do a presentation, you're an expert.
Yeah, that's exactly. I think that was really we really appreciate your time, Michael, and your patience for answering all these questions. And it was really fantastic having you. And yes, we are looking forward maybe in the future to having you again, or we will be happy to have also a technical session maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm always happy to do that. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. And it was. Okay, that's great. It was great to have everyone here, and thanks for joining and having our guest. And wish you a very good night. I think you are in a different time zone, right? In Chicago, right?
Yeah. So this is United States Central Time. It is 2:15 p.m. here, so I have about 3 hours of work left.
Yes, but we are almost, evening, so yeah.
So good night, everyone.
Yeah, good night. Thank you so much.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.